Hello, thank you so much for coming to this Sashiko Live Streaming. This is Atsushi. Thursday night. This is the time for us to stitch together. This is the live streaming where I stitch and talk about Sashiko. I will stitch Sashiko stitching and then I will talk about some Sashiko. This is not a lecture, this is not a webinar, this is not a tutorial, so I'm not gonna teach here, or I'm not gonna answer any technical questions. Instead, I would like to share some of the cultural stories as well as answering the questions about the culture or story part of that. Let me check the audio. I think it should be fine. Yeah, it should be fine. Hello, good evening. Thank you so much for coming. Is there any information? I kind of don't think I have anything today to announce. I have been sharing the Sashiko dialogue with Tai, and I keep watching that, rewatching the dialogue. It is quite good. It's kind of strange for me to say it because that's me talking. That's me talking with Tai. But it explains a lot about what I'm trying to do as the kind of comprehensive way. So if you have not watched that yet, please take a look. It's really long, so I don't want you to spend so much time on that. But here and there, it would be great if you could kind of go through that. It's a good summary. I'm not answering the questions yet, but it's a good summary of what I'm trying to say. All right, I'm gonna move to the stitching. Boop. Boop. Hello. Thank you so much for coming. Just a second, okay? Oh, I forgot the topic. I brought the topic here as the consequence of our choice. I don't know if this is a good topic to discuss, but I will try my best. I do not want to criticize some specific individual or specific group, so I have to be careful about it. It is not my intention to attack somebody over this live streaming. So I will be careful about it. At the same time, it is quite interesting to see how it is going right now. It is frustrating, it is sad. At the same time, it is quite not interesting. Strange, I guess. It's not like a positive interesting. That's what I'm going to talk about today. There was a question about the previous Instagram post about what for and for whom, and what was the kind of event to shift that. It's going to be a long story, and I don't think I can stitch while talking about that. So it's going to be another kind of separate. I'm probably going to write on that on Patreon or somewhere else first, so that I can kind of summarize what I would like to say. But if you are not sure about those terms, please check the Instagram. I think that's the 2 posts away, not away ago. All right, I will start stitching. I cannot believe that it's almost the end of the year, which I probably keep saying every time, so it's probably not that. So just to clarify that, um, we do not make not like not to start or stop stitches. and we do stitch from the back of the fabric. The side I am looking at right now, or you are looking at right now, is the wrong side, so-called hiding side or covering side. At the same time, the purpose of this project is to make both side as the finished side. As the result, we do not make any knot because the knot is obvious that which side is the wrong side. So we stitch from the back, and that's kind of our normal standard way to do it. And when you do the kasane, well, instead of making knot, we do kind of stitching technique or idea of so-called kasane. When you do kasane properly with the proper thread, proper needle, proper technique, the kasane will not come off by itself. So both sides of the fabric will look almost identical. And that's the kind of way to do sashiko for us. So, and I do not check the front side. So this is the wrong side, right? This is the wrong side, and this is the front side. As you can tell, if you are watching this live streaming, I barely check the right side of the stitches because I do care, but sometimes I don't have to watch every time, or I sometimes forget. So stitches size are not that important. So can you tell us more about kokoroiki? I will try my best. I will try my best. That's a good topic. Thank you so much. Can you please explain how we preprint a design on a cloth? In our place, Sashiko is not common. Go to my YouTube channel. I mean, you are on my YouTube channel right now. There's a way. I think I have several videos, 5 videos at least, about how to transfer the patterns on the fabric, and also how to draw the patterns on the fabric. According to somebody's talk, some people teach or offer Sashiko workshop by teaching how to do it. For me, it's not Sashiko, to be honest. It's just drawing. It's preparing. So Sashiko itself is not. It's a very, very important process to start Sashiko, but it's not really Sashiko. As the result, I don't have that much weight on that. So we have many videos on my YouTube channel. If you could go through some of the videos, it might be like a few years old. I don't really update much, but the information is there. And if it's not, if you find it not organized and if you don't want to spend that much time, Domestica is the kind of the workshop or the online class that explain that. So, but yeah, I do not really recommend using the pre-printed fabric, or the what I don't like is the stencil. I'm not a big fan of the stencil, and I think many people are using stencil right now. If you're gonna use stencil, like I don't really deny that. If you're gonna use the stencil, use nice one. Use a very good quality one, which tend to be quite expensive. But there are some Japanese craftsmen who are investing their skills and also their wisdom to make those template. I am very big fan of them, and I hope that one day I can introduce that to the world. But they try to understand what Sashiko is, so their template is very, very good. So yeah, but for those informations, it's already online, so please find that. Kokoroiki. It is very difficult. Like the kokoroiki is the word that it's kind of impossible to translate from Japanese to English again. So if I use Google Translate or other dictionary, closest translation is the Japanese spirit. That's the kokoroiki, and probably some Japanese people who speak both language, Japanese and English, may disagree with this translation because it's quite strange. It's not wrong, but it doesn't really suit well. At the same time, it's quite. Then I would like to ask them what is gonna be the alternative, and I'm very happy to have those discussions if that's available. But as long as I know there's no way to like completely translate in one word. So the kokoroiki is the word of the how. The Japanese spirit is the translation, but more like how the attitude to face to this practice, the mindset we have to have for some specific practice, willingness to learn, wishful thinking, more like a psychological status that psychological status with sincere respect, not a sincere respect, psychological status with passion, no, not a passion, psychological status with something. It's not action, it's not something we can see, it's not tangible. It is some psychological status, like mindset to to So for that, the reason I brought up that word kokoroiki is that kasane is kokoroiki for us. It's not good or bad, or it's not a discussion of kasane works or kasane doesn't work, or if kasane is good or bad, or like stitching from the wrong side is good or bad, or like what is right and wrong. Those are not the topic we discuss. But kasane iki is the ordinary as well as the kokoroiki. So I guess I'm quite frustrated with the Sashiko introduced in English because it is actually missing that a lot. At the same time, it is not reasonable to ask non-Japanese people to understand what's a kokoroiki without jumping into the Japanese culture. So it's kind of my responsibility to verbalize that. At the same time, willingness to learn is one very good way to explain kokoroiki. So the fact that many people are teaching Sashiko without proper investment, let's say investment, proper investment into the Sashiko, like there's no such a thing as qualification. There's no such a thing as certification. But I don't know if I don't. It's not even I don't know. I don't think they're qualified to teach. I don't think I'm qualified to teach at this moment yet. There are tons of people who are qualified, in my opinion, but they do not teach because that's their choice. And I don't think I'm qualified to teach in comparison to them. For that, I don't think the others are qualified to teach. Being Japanese itself is not a qualification to teach Sashiko. And also, having a Japanese friend is not going to be a qualification to teach Sashiko. I'm not saying it's a wrong thing to teach. It's just, it's really not a mindset we carry. So kokoroiki is a very, very difficult word again. It's quite similar to wabi-sabi. It's also very difficult to translate. But it's like, well, I think the psychological status, the Japanese spirit as the psychological status to I have to think. Sue, I'm sorry, I have to really think about that. I thought about it when I wrote that Instagram post. I thought about it, and I've been thinking about it, but it's like a care too, a bit of care. Care. I will talk about very, 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 very extreme, extreme example. Okay. Mm, just a second. Okay, that's really difficult. 心意気、心意気。This might be a very. Can you say more about Kasane's kokoroiki? Yes, yes, I know, I know your question, and I know really it's difficult to explain. This story might help. Sorry, I cannot stitch well talking about this. So this is a quite famous story about Japanese manufacturer and also the Western manufacturer. When you are, let's say, in the business school, supply chain management is probably the necessary class that pretty much every MBA have to take. I guess. I don't have MBA, so I don't know about that. But supply chain management is quite standard in today's business, right? So supply chain management is pretty much saying that there are manufacturers after manufacturers, and let's say that there is a one small company or even like artisans who make one part. It can be as small as one screw that, or one nut, one part. In the Western culture, it is all about numbers. So when we need 100 pieces of good one, like 100 pieces of items or parts that are qualified, that that surpass the certain quality, we calculate the deficient rate, the how many percent of the items will be out of quality, and then let's say if it's 10%. In this specific assembly line, 10% of the item will be bad, not as good as the others. So let's make 110 pieces so that we can produce 100 pieces, because the 100 pieces is the standard, or not standard, the goal, the target. So because we will have that 10% of the deficient rate, we will make 10% more so that we can make up to 100. That's more like a Western mindset. It's very logical, it's very efficient, it's very much understanding of the manufacturer's tendency, because we cannot make it 100%. No matter how much we try, there will be always deficient because that's humans' work. So let's calculate that and then try to make it 100%. In Japanese, we don't really care. We don't. Deficient rate is out of kokoroiki. With kokoroiki, they, artisans, craftsmen, try to make 100% no matter what. So it is the shame. It is very out of the artisanship to make 110 when they require 100. So instead of making more to meet the goal, they are so proud of themselves to make it to 100. And we kind of call that as the Japanese artisans kokoroiki. So it's a very extreme example. It's not really the same as Sashiko's kokoroiki, but those, like, I think when I heard that story, I felt like, wow, that's the Japanese mindset, the Japanese spirit of making something. Once we make it, we offer them the 100%, regardless. So, kasane is kind of courtesy. Pretty basic respect for those who might use the Sashiko items we stitch. So when they say that Sashiko kasane is not necessary, or that they don't do kasane, they don't do kasane is fine. They cannot do kasane, or talking about kasane as if it doesn't work, or some people say like kasane is not necessary. They are not really understanding the mindset of why we make kasane. So it's so I hope that I'm explaining somewhat, but I will keep searching for that explanation. But that's sort of the one example and one answer to your. I know I am not answering your question. I try my best, but I will keep trying. Leiko-san is the one who actually gave me that word, so I will read Sensei's word. I think that kokoroiki is a spirit that combines the aesthetics of doing one's best, paying attention to the details, and doing one's best. Even if doing so has no effect on the surface outcome. It is a mindset. So outcome may not be 100%. Using that analogy or example of the manufacturer, the deficient rate will never be 0. So we may have 1% deficient items, which has to be recovered. So they will work on that. At the same time, they will keep their mindset to make that 0 happen. So result is not that important. Of course, it is important. Result is of course important, but making the 100%, making the beautiful thing is it's not a matter of discussion. It is what we have to do. It's more like the mindset, attitude toward the process. I know I'm not really explaining well, but Leiko-san's explanation is very, very good. But it's really interesting. I think that many Japanese understand what kokoroiki without explaining it. That's why I cannot explain that. If I can explain what kokoroiki in Japanese, I can probably translate that to English. It's not that difficult, I guess. But I don't think I can explain what kokoroiki is in Japanese neither. Well, like we can give the samples, but we cannot really define that word. Universally, we might have our own definition for that word. Same as wabi-sabi, I don't think Japanese can define wabi-sabi. We have our own understanding, but it's not really the universal definition. So when I see those, opinions, or there's so many teachers online right now, they're saying that you don't have to do kasane, then I, feel like, yeah, you don't have to do it, but can you do it? If they cannot do it, and if they're choosing not to do it, that's a completely opposite side of kokoroiki. And I feel very much disrespected for that. 日本語で失礼します。心持ちと英語のスピリットのニュアンスは同じちゃうなんな。ちゃうと思います。なんで関西弁になったかわからないんですけど、ちゃうと思います。Sorry, that was the question in Japanese. 心持ちと英語のスピリット。違う。 明日また詳しく話しますけど、スピリットっていう言葉をね、まず僕らは英語で使わない気がする。日常生活で使った記憶があんまりない。Do most Japanese try to do kokoroiki in their daily life or work, or is it primarily something one doesn't think about? It is their profession, I guess. Like if they in their professions, there are tons of definitions for what profession is, but let's say that the profession is a job or some work or action to receive some money or some compensation. For that kind of work, they do. And those professionals without kokoroiki will not be respected, in my understanding. So even if they don't have it, they probably fake to have it. They will pretend that they have it. It's really, really like if I say like I'm a Sashiko artist, I don't have any kokoroiki, then I will lose my valid. Like nobody is gonna follow me in Japan. So I missed the Kakasane. It's like a mindset, like a mindset, and also pride. Pride? 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 Maybe. That's kind of, I think that is why I am getting so agitated by encountering those arguments online about what Sashiko is. They think they understand what Sashiko is, right? But none of them are kind of with the kokoroiki for that matter. They only focus on the result, how beautiful it is, or how the patterns, technique, it's not wrong, and it's very, 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 very important part of Sashiko. At the same time, it's like a pizza without the cheese. There's nothing wrong with it, but the way is the most delicious part of that. Is it talked about verbally? We don't. It is not kokoroiki to talk about kokoroiki. I'm sorry, it's being a philosophy, but like it's not something to be proud of. Like if I say I have a kokoroiki, that's not already kokoroiki already. Like it's really shameful to even show off that. So if I say that I have kokoroiki in Japanese sashiko stitching, many people say, "What the heck are you talking about? Of course you do have it." It is expected. That is why I'm pretty agitated. It is expected, yet it is completely ignored. Adrian, so kind of work ethic as we'd say in English. Yes, yes, really getting closer. We'll see. I cannot stitch today. In my understanding, ethics in Western culture is for others, right? I think. So I have an ethic for the work outside the work, something what I do. Um, ethic is to like what am I expected from others to do? That's for the work ethic. If I talk about the general ethics, it's for others. Kokoroiki is not exactly that ethics in terms of what we should do. It's more like a self-discipline, I guess. Wow, that might be a good word. Kokoroiki may be self-discipline in the Japanese way. So you don't have to do kasane. Like technically speaking, like literally speaking, you don't have to do kasane at all. It's not the big deal, right? It's just you can make knot. I say you can make knot, so you can make knot. But if you are gonna claim you as a good Sashiko stitcher or teacher or someone like good enough to teach or tell others what Sashiko is, then they gotta be able to do it. And if they say I can teach without those self-discipline, then it is very much losing the value of it. Sorry, I'm just gonna take... Is it like the English do your best, or this old saying, good, better, best, never let us rest until we make our good better and our better best? Oh, I don't know that. It's like a tongue twister. Good, better, best, never let us rest until we make our good better. And do your best is not... it's really not. I don't think do your best. Do my best is the self as kokoroiki. Best is already the condition, one condition. It's not focusing on the outcome. Although my example about the manufacture is about outcome, right? Like 100% or 110 pieces or 100 pieces with 0% efficient rate, or 110 pieces with 10% efficient rate. I was talking about the outcome. At the same time, kokoroiki is not about outcome. It is about the mindset to, like, even before to start that process. Like you can make knot. There's nothing wrong with making knot. There's nothing wrong with stitching from the front. There's nothing wrong with using the pre-printed fabric. But when one teaches Sashiko, it doesn't have to be like teach the class or, publish a book or teaching the class or teaching online or in-person workshop. That doesn't matter what kind of teaching. Telling others what Sashiko is already a form of teaching. And interestingly, as long as I know, those who I know already, who is more qualified, in my opinion, to teach others what Sashiko is, they are very humble. So they said, in my understanding. By putting the word in my understanding, that's not going to be the teaching. It is stating your understanding. It's not teaching. So that's a huge difference between in my understanding or in my opinion versus Sashiko is ... So when I receive the question, it's almost so the I'd say having a good work ethic is something you could recognize more easily in someone else, but not really what you'd say about yourself. Haha. Integrity, yeah, so work ethic is very close. It's probably the closest things I have ever came out. But I have to really understand what ethics is too. We are not good at ethics. Japanese are not very good at ethics. They're huge influence from Confucius, and Confucius is, they don't really, I am not qualified to talk about it much, but because of that Confucius mindset. So in the Western culture, legal system is everything. If you go against the law, if you go against the legal system, that is bad. Not bad, but that's the law. We have to have a law to follow, and thanks to the law, we can maintain our lives. In Confucius, there is something more important than law. I cannot say that word. LAW. So it's not like, not expectation, not the ethic, not the something somebody else or somebody expected. It's just the mindset or attitude toward that. Work ethic is also a bit of an idiom. Oh, I have to learn more. I have to learn more. Don't make an idiom. I don't like idioms. English is so difficult for that matter because they change the meaning when it becomes idioms. Like, it is another difficult like barrier that in order to understand English like proficiently, in order to be proficient in English, it is quite important to understand idioms. It's kind of joke, but 20 years ago, in my college time, sick was not yet the term to say cool. Sick was sick. I got sick was, I felt bad. I feel bad. So 20 years ago, right? Now, sick can be the word for cool. And I kept getting the message from one young person saying, wow, your work is so sick. And I go, what the heck are you talking about? And then I was about to kind of get mad at him because he didn't stop. And I was talking to my family, and then, well, that's probably the best compliment one can give you right now. Like, ooh, so that's the idiom that I did not understand. It is difficult. Oh, sorry, Helen. Integrity, mastery, self-discipline, humility. Yeah, yeah. So self-discipline and also integrity, pride, uh, humbleness too, as well. It's like having integrity in your work as well as the attitude to the work. But yeah, integrity is also a good word to say that. Helen, yes, exactly. It's not the same as ethics, like you equate to moral or laws. Yes. So it's not like a moral or laws. If we translate ethics as the moral or law, it's not gonna. But it kind of overlap. So how is sashiko in English different from pizza in English or Japanese or anything but Italian? You and Tai touched on this. Italian pizza makers bring traditions and care to their pizza. So how is sashiko in English different from pizza in English or Japanese or anything but Italian? The pizza is a kind of like analogy. So it's probably going to touch the cultural appropriation as well. But one thing I really, really don't want you to get misunderstand. What don't get me wrong is that I am not saying that sashiko is should be done by only Japanese people. I'm not really. I'm opposite. I would like you to enjoy it. That's why I'm sharing everything here. I'm not hiding anything here. Only things I'm saying is that I don't want them to change more than necessary for someone's convenience. So one cannot do it as the result they change the culture. That's not okay. So let's say one cannot get the pizza in Japan. As the result, let's use tofu as on the pizza as the cheese. I don't know if tofu gonna be a cheese, but then we can call it pizza. So it is okay to mix the culture. It is okay to use it. It is okay to use any word, just we have to, not we, like we kind of have to keep ourselves, I think, humble to not to say that we know it. Like once I say that I know all about Italian pizza, I am very much limiting the culture of their pizza. And I don't think I should say that because I do not have any friend in Italy. I don't have any visit experience to Italy. I have never tried a pizza in Italy. I don't speak Italian, so there are a lot of things missing. If I move to Italy, if I spend 30 years there under some like pizza master, I may able to say that word. At the same time, if one does that in Japan, the first thing they will learn is that there is no such a thing as mastering it. Therefore, no Japanese Sashiko practitioner or artists say that they are the master. I have never seen anybody who call themselves master in Sashiko. Teacher, probably. Master, no. It's only the Western culture. Well, I mean, if somebody call me master, I'm not gonna deny it until the end. But I tell them that it's not gonna make me comfortable. I don't like the word artist neither. So it's gonna come back to the phrase Sashiko introduced in English is not wrong. It is not wrong at all, but it's very much missing the important part, which is the simplification. If it's only the matter of how it looks, then it is probably doing okay job for that. But kokoroiki is not from my word. It's the Japanese artisans pointed out that it can be that. So, yeah, it's that's the language barrier. Aaron, is it like the current definition of integrity? What you do when no one is looking? That is very good. That is very good. Yes. Is that the definition of integrity? What you do when no one is looking. So, yes, 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 yes. Thank you so much for helping me to summarize today's live streaming. I have to go. I have to go at 10 o'clock. Yes, that is very good. That's click the mind, not a mind that clicks. Nobody may realize kasane. Nobody may check the wrong side. Nobody may care about it. Nobody might not what Sashiko is. So you may not get any acknowledgement or any validation or any reward for that. Yet we gotta do it. So kasane is something we do even if nobody cares. But we it is okay if somebody say that if you don't care about it, then why do you speak up about it? Well, because if one is the customer's side or user's side, I wouldn't care about if they do know kasane or not. But because they promote themselves or they say that they are the teacher of Sashiko, they know Sashiko well enough to teach, then it's missing a lot of integrity. Integrity! That's the word. Self-discipline, integrity, but not exactly. So, like, if I say that kokoroiki is integrity and self-discipline, we kind of concluded here, right? That is already a start of misunderstanding. So it is very, very, very close, but it's not exactly it. I'm sorry to leave it open. because right now I'm offering everything I have in English. If I talk in Japanese tomorrow, it may be a bit different. So, Reiko-san, sorry. When translated into Japanese, work ethics becomes rodo rinri. Does this make sense? It is. It is rodo rinri desu. Rodo rinri is work ethic, but it's very different from what we expect and what is expected in Japan too. That I will talk in Japanese. I will explain the difference between the Japanese work ethics and also the American work ethics in Japanese tomorrow in Japanese live streaming, so that I can get the feedback from the Japanese people to make sure that I'm not off the road. It's a good live streaming. Thank you. Thank you so much for the question. Thank you so much for the feed and comment to keep the discussion ongoing. As the result, I don't stitch much, but I think it's okay. Just a second. Whew. But yeah, so I'm not saying like please don't get me wrong. I'm as much as I'm not happy with teaching, oh, I'm not happy. Teaching itself isn't, I'm not criticizing the teachers. I may be criticizing that. Just a second. I just don't want them to simplify Sashiko in their definition. Sashiko is very simple. It is very, very easy, very simple, and there's not that much on it. But what is consists of is the Japanese ordinally, including this kokoroiki. So outcome wise, technique wise, with wisdom wise, information wise, or in terms of information, technique, description, they might be doing a lot of work. They might be doing a good work. But because they're not Japanese and they don't, well, the definition of being Japanese is so also difficult, but because they do not carry the same expectation as the other Japanese people, it is missing a lot of things. And one outcome is the kasane. Kasane is one outcome to sort of clarify what kind of status they are. If they think that kasane is normal, it is quite interesting. Like I teach Sashiko for like last 30, not 30 years, last 6 years or so, right? I've been practicing last 30 years. Um, Many of my student now friends enjoy kasane. Like they use the word kasane as if it's part of their stitching culture. It's not something we pay attention. It's not something we choose. It's just naturally we do it. And that's very, 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 very Japanese like to me. But those people don't speak up much. They're so humble too. I'm pretty sure that they kind of are there, but I keep saying this recently, but people here right now, you are minority. I'm sorry to say it, but you are minority in this trend. You are spending like 50 minutes, 1 hour every Thursday night to listen to one guy's mumbling. It does not make sense too. That's the whole point. After 50 minutes of listening, you kind of leave this live streaming. What did I get today? I got something, but I cannot summarize that. That's the whole point of my stories. I cannot give you the answer that you would like to have. I cannot summarize it into one word. So by listening to this live streaming, you will not be certified to have enough information to teach Sashiko. So you are the minority. Yet, thanks to you, my voice are still floating around. So, but the majority of Sashiko trend right now is the looking. If they like the looking, that's what they want. They need the answer like this. And even you as the minority here, we kind of tend to look for the answers, which is not wrong. It is impossible to not to look for the answer in this culture. I am like that already too. So you probably don't believe that we don't look for the answer sometimes. We kind of end it as is. Okay. Sorry, I have to go a little bit today early, so I am going to stop stitching today. I don't know if I stitch a lot. I don't think I stitch a lot today. Kasane makes sense because even regular sewing of clothes with a sewing machine use kasane, start and end in seam with backstitching. Yes, so it is. This is the extreme analogy. Extreme analogy, okay? Do you wash your hand before you're cooking? Let's say you do cooking. Do you wash your hand? Or do you touch your hair while you're cooking? Do you pick your nose? Nobody's watching you. And, nobody will realize it. Even if you did not wash your hand after going to the bathroom and start cooking, they will not realize it unless there's like a security camera. And most likely, if it's like a stir fry or something with heat, you will not spread the sickness because the fire is more sanitizing than washing hand. So washing hand is the courtesy, integrity, self-discipline to offer something you're proud of to somebody you care. You don't have to wash the hand. Technically speaking, you don't have to wash the hand, but we do. I do. I like washing my hand. Look at my hand. It's so I mean, I was shocked how bad it is when I took my photo. Anyway, so that's kind of we do have it in English. We do have those things. Yet when we differentiate something from the ordinary, we start focusing on the result or special skill or special design. But when we focus on the ordinary, we do have this similar ordinary practice, like washing hand after the bathroom. What else? I cannot think of anything else. But all I'm saying, it's an extreme analogy again, but all I'm saying right now is please wash your hand before you start cooking for your family. Even if it's not for the customers or like restaurant, it is the courtesy to wash your hand, so please wash it. If you are like a restaurant owner and if you don't wash your hand, then you might be, you might get penalty. It might be illegal. In the house, you're not gonna be punished by that. But please, please, please wash your hand because that's a part of the process, a care. And I don't want to leave the world that they don't care about washing hand or not. I hope they wash the hand. I don't know. Like, I sometimes go to my friend's house and I hope that they wash their hand when they cook. Well, we don't know that. So I think that integrity is a good way to say that. Yeah, self-discipline is that good word for that. Kasane is very, very normal for us. And it does work well when you are well trained, well practiced, and it does not require like years of experience. You just probably need a few hours of good experience, good practice, good posture, good tools, good supplies, and a few hours of good practice, you'll get it right. And I mean, the more you practice, the better it gets. But to get it right, you don't need like years. You don't even need a month. And the kasane will be like a knot over time. Again, when you use the proper thread, proper needle. And what else? The sashiko can make both sides as the finished side. It's not gonna be identical because it's hand stitching, but it is very important to look for the identical way, and we can do that. I don't have it right now with me, but it will look like identical, very similar, like close to identical. And yeah, we don't check the front because we don't use our eyes. We don't really look at it. We don't really control the stitches size with our eyes. It's all about rhythm. So we don't really, I didn't even check the front side today, right? Because I don't really have to check it. So you don't have to do kasane, but it is wrong to teach others that Japanese don't do kasane much, because we do. Like, not the majority of, like, I'm not talking about new people who can speak English or who just started doing sashiko like last few years. They are still in the process of learning. But those who has been practicing sashiko for like 30 years, 40 years, kasane, if they don't know about kasane, that's a little bit of specs, like shady. I mean, kasane can be different name. They might have different name. And some area where the sashiko was more ordinarily practiced, they probably did not develop that much practice, that much culture of kasane, because kasane is more like the outcome of idealistic development. They wanted to make both sides as the finished side. As the result, they kind of developed that skill. So if the one area of, like, let's say one region, if they did not have enough resources or enough time for doing that, having a choice is also the privilege, and we had the privilege to choose that. If they didn't have it, that would have been the case or story or the sashiko without kasane. And I'm not denying that. It's one form of sashiko. But when we talk about the whole picture of sashiko, we have to include, not we have to, it is necessary to include sashiko. And one last thing is that it is your choice. It is your choice to do sashiko. I mean, it is a choice to do kasane or not. So I have no issues of the distinguish of doing it or choosing not to do it. If you choose not to do it, that's perfectly fine. I sometimes choose not to do it too. For example, when I have to mend the denim, kasane can be weak for that. In those cases, I do make knot. I know how to make knot. I mean, just making knot. So it is not wrong to make knot. It is not wrong to stitch from the front side. I sometimes do that too. It's not the majority of the project, but when I have to work on the front side, I do, and I can. Do I care about the front side of stitching? I can care, and there are projects that I have to care, but it's not my preference. So as a result, I focus on I choose the kind of comfortable Sashiko stitching. But point is that I can do it. I'm choosing to do kasane. I'm choosing to stitch from the back side. I'm choosing to make both sides of the finished side. As long as it's your choice, there's no problem with that. If it's not your choice, then don't teach others. If you are saying like, I cannot do it, as the result, kasane doesn't need it, you don't need the kasane, that is already changing the culture. And if it's your culture, it's your story. But if it's not your culture, then wait until you can do it. Then you can choose it and you can tell others to choose it too. I hope it makes sense. That integrity, self-discipline, and also there was one word that I think no. There was one word. It's actually integrity. Like definition of integrity, what you do when no one is looking. Probably nobody realizes it. Probably it's not a big deal for many people. You might not get rewarded. You might not. It's not gonna be showing off. Right now, the Sashiko's trend, many people show off what they stitch, and that's one way, one trend. At the same time, sometimes we feel shameful to show the wrong side. That's why I wrote it down that it's not a good work, which I don't think it's a good work for my standard. So there are a lot of things behind it. There's nothing wrong with showing off the Sashiko as the art, but there are Sashiko which many Japanese people try to sort of not show off. Not to hide, but more like showing off is very like Western way. Being artistic, being like self-expression, expressing it is very much Western mindset. So I hope that we can combine those two well instead of simplifying one side because the other side is so comfortable. Okay, I hope that it made sense. Oof. Sorry, I have to go at 10 o'clock and it's like 3 minutes late. If you have any questions, if you're watching this as the archive and if you have any questions, please leave the comments. I will be able to try to pick up next time. I will be the live streaming on 28th and we can do that. So I hope that you have a good night, and also it's gonna be this weekend is gonna be Christmas, so Merry Christmas. I hope you have a very good Christmas. We don't celebrate Christmas, so we're gonna go through the regular time. So I hope you have a very good night, and I hope you have a very good weekend, and a Merry Christmas to you, and I'll see you after the Christmas. All right, have a good night. Bye bye.